Hello. Today I'm going to talk to you about the basic diets that I follow. We'll be looking at a number of diets, but I prefer to call them lifestyles. So what you really need to do is find something that suits you and treat it as a lifestyle, not as something you're going to do for a couple of weeks. You are what you eat. So it's very important that you think about what you're putting into your body. Every time you go to eat something, you have to realize that that becomes part of you. Its energy, the energy of the food, is actually merging with the energy of your body, and that creates your body. So you need to be eating foods that are beneficial for you, not detrimental. You have trillions and billions of cells, and we need to make these cells happy. They're our best friends, and we need to feed them the proper nutrition. All the diets I'm going to talk about, or the lifestyles that I'm going to talk about, have one thing in common. They're all vegan. Veganism is about our planet, and it's about our animals. We are absolutely devastating the planet because of the way we eat our food, the way we process our food, and keep supplying meat and dairy at the rate that we are at this point in time. With the increasing population and the way meat and dairy is manufactured, and the way we have the factory farms and all the things that are going on in that industry, we can't sustain that. The actual cattle industry is actually more detrimental to the planet and more polluting than the whole system of transport throughout the whole world. The other reason to look at veganism is the cruelty to the animals. Now, I didn't know too much about this. I was concerned about the environment, and I was concerned about my health. But when you look into the animal cruelty, the factory farms are just atrocious. Even though some people might say I'm eating organic meat, I'm drinking organic milk, these products are still not good for your health. I know there's a lot of information to the contrary. People that make decisions about what we should eat and how much of different food groups we should eat, so there are conflicts of interest. And a lot of things that you've been told and that you heard is not particularly true. Milk is probably one of the worst things you could have, and that goes along with your yogurts and your cheeses. Most diseases in today's world are created from our consumption of meat and dairy. I'll give you some links below of people that are working in this area, and a lot of these are actually professional medical doctors. So that should give you a little bit of confidence in what I'm telling you. When we look at the plant-based diet, we're talking about pioneers such as Dr. Edelson and Professor Campbell. Dr. Edelson is a cardiac surgeon in the United States who got sick of cutting people open every day because of heart disease. He promotes the plant-based diet. The plant-based diet is a low-fat diet. It's a vegan diet, and not much salt in that diet. They completely eliminate oil from that diet, as oil is not a natural food. So with plant-based foods, you're normally eating whole foods, whole food fruits and vegetables in their natural form. You're not consuming oils. You do get natural oils with the products that you actually consume, but you have to eat them in their natural form. Dr. Edelson and Professor Campbell can be found at Forks Over Knives. Professor Campbell was actually was sent overseas to help bring protein to the third world countries, and he made some pretty significant discoveries while he was over there. He ended up writing the China study, which is a complete study of nutrition. What they did this 10-year study in China on different rural areas, because China is actually a place where they can actually do this because people are still living in rural situations and not in the typical westernized scenario. And a lot of these different areas vary in what they consume. This started, I think, many years ago. One of the Chinese emperors was sick, and he wanted to know why he was sick, and he did a survey throughout China where he had people write down what they ate and what sort of diseases they got and things like that. Dr. Campbell and some other people, they took up what the emperor had done, and they did a 10-year study where they took blood samples and they took details of what people were eating and consuming. They found out that dairy was a big problem with creating cancers and heart disease. Dairy is very high in saturated fat. Dr. Edelstein and Dr. Campbell, or Professor Campbell, I'm not quite sure what he is, they brought out Forks Over Knives. There's a very good DVD that you should try and watch. In the plant-based arena, we also have Dr. McDougall, who promotes starches. So we've got the book here, The Starch Solution, a very excellent book. So what Dr. McDougall promotes is eating lots of rice, potatoes, corn, a lot of the starches, fruits, vegetables, again no oil and very low salt. He's not too strict on the salt like Forks Over Knives, but this is a very good solution for people that like their comfort foods, and maybe on a low budget, because it's always easy to get rice and potatoes, whereas it's not that easy to get some expensive organic vegetables. We also look at the raw diet. Now there's two versions to the raw diet. We have what's called the gourmet raw diet and the high carb raw diet, and and in that area that's where we get the raw tofu. Typically in the raw diet we are getting more health benefits, and I'll be giving you plenty of raw food recipes. But the problem with raw is that because there's no meat or dairy involved, there's a lot of nuts being used to make sort of like vegetable burgers and curry sauces, all that sort of stuff. There's lots of macadamias, cashews, Brazil nuts. So if you look at the typical raw diet, it's actually about 50 to 60% fat. Well, there's better fat, it's still fat, and the fat you eat is the fat you wear. I used to be very pro-fat because we've all sort of got conned into the low carb, high fat diet. Sorry to say that's not the way you should be eating. Your body runs on glucose, especially your brain, so your body needs sugar, it needs energy, and your carbs and your starches is what your body needs for optimum health and for your energy. It's basically eating lots of fruit and some vegetables. The 80-10-10 is basically mono meals, which means eating one thing per meal, one food group per meal. And sometimes you can add a few little things to that. And it's basically eating fruit. 80-10-10 stands for 80% carbohydrate, 10% fat, and 10% protein. What we've been told about fat content of our diet and the protein is way too high for what we really need. We can get plenty of protein, calcium, and all the nutrients we need from fruits and vegetables. And mainly fruit. We can actually just live on fruit because that is our natural diet. But because of the way we've been brought up and because the way we've been living for all these years, sometimes it's a little bit hard for people to just eat the fruit. I've always found it hard to eat fruit. I was the sort of person where I always had this beautiful fruit bowl full of fruit and it just stayed there till it went bad, which is very different now because I consume as much as I can. So that's why it's good to look at what Freeland the Banana Girl has come up with, which is the raw tofu. And in that particular diet you get to eat fruit all day, or your fruit smoothies, and then at night you can have a comfort meal. You can have your rice or your pasta, your greens. That gives you some options. The problem is that I live in Australia and we're in this magnificent country, and yet it's so hard to get good quality fruit. It's just ludicrous. I do buy organic fruits and vegetables, but to buy bulk organic fruits and vegetables is very difficult. I live in the tropics, and when I go in the supermarket I see the same things that they do down in Melbourne and Sydney. You get your oranges, your apples, your bananas, just the standard stuff, which is ludicrous. I live in the tropics. I should be surrounded by tropical fruits, but unfortunately not. I have to buy Thai coconuts for the coconut water, and they come from Thailand, and I live in the tropics. Why isn't anybody growing lots of coconuts for me to drink? I guess I have to grow them myself. The vegan diet is just sort of a backstop, so if you're trying to stick to 80-10-10, or you're trying to do raw till 4, or you're doing the raw diet, but occasionally you can't, at least stay vegan. That's why I'm going to include some vegan recipes. Sometimes you're having maybe people over for dinner, or you're having a gathering, so it's nice to have some different recipes that you can put out for people that aren't particularly eating the way you do. And there are some fantastic options for vegan people. But again, vegan can still be quite high in fat, and believe me, there are some fat vegans. That's what my husband calls himself. Okay, so there's a lot of controversy on the low carb and the high carb. And what I normally do is, like, if I go to a doctor or I go to an expert and they say, well, this is what you should do, I normally look at them and think, well, if you're recommending something to me, then I should look at you and know that it is working for you, whatever it is. But sometimes people go to the doctors and they say, oh, you need to lose weight, you need to do this, and yet they're not healthy and they're overweight. So where's the logic in that? They're giving you information, but they're not walking the talk. That's why I have a lot of respect for Freelee, Jury and Ryder, because they speak their own truth. They live that lifestyle, and the proof is in the pudding. As Freelee would say, the proof is in the banana pudding. You just have to look at them to know that they're healthy, and that what they're doing is not detrimental to their health. Raw till 4 with Freelee and Jury and Ryder. Well, what can I say? If they're not fit and healthy, then nobody is, sorry. Fat is very easily stored in fat cells very quickly. With carbohydrates, it's normally stored in the liver until we can use it up. So it's actually very difficult to convert sugars into fat. So the whole adage of you eat sugar, it turns into fat in your fat cells is not exactly true. So do your research. There's plenty of information out there on YouTube. But when you're looking at the side of meat and dairy, don't forget, those people promoting low carb diets are normally backed by the meat and dairy industry. Now, as for my background, I studied to be a fitness instructor, but I've never actually done it as a job, but I was qualified to be a personal trainer. In my early 40s, I did a thing some of you might remember called Fit for Life, and I became a finalist in Fit for Life twice. So I actually repeated it a couple of times. I also won a prize in another competition called Fat Blaster, and at that point I ended up 14% body fat and very well toned, but it meant going to the gym every day for 3 to 5 years, never missing a day, going there during the week. But I did eat a lot of rice and I ate a lot of vegetables at that point in time, so maybe I was onto something then. And you can see some of the pictures I'm putting up of what I achieved. These pictures were taken when I was 44 years old, and that's quite a while back now. But you can see that even though you're advancing in years, you can still have that body. And my goal now is to get one very similar to Freelee's. So let's see how we go as an old person. And I think it is completely possible, because it's about good nutrition. It's about eating the right thing, but it's also about your mindset. It's about the way you think and feel about life and about getting out there and having an adventure and taking each day as it comes, and not thinking about your chronological age or your physical age or your psychological age. You just are, and be the best person that you can be. My channel is basically aimed at the more mature ladies and gentlemen, because what you find is a lot of older people looking at maybe Freely and saying, well, she's young, she's youthful, and I was pretty good when I was young. So what about as an older adult? Can I have a lifestyle like this? Can I eat like this? And the way I look at life is I'm still working at a job. I'm still trying to get to that point where I can leave work and retire. But I don't want to retire and then have to travel the world in a wheelchair or with a walking stick. I want to be fit and healthy so I can enjoy my free time when it comes to me. I've always been very adventurous, so I want to climb those mountains. I want to walk down those streets. I want to see the pyramids. I want to walk up to Machu Picchu. I want to do all these things and feel healthy and energetic about it. And this is the lifestyle that's going to give it to you. So coming up, I'll do some more short videos on a few more things. I want to talk about the environment and why we should all be looking at a vegan lifestyle. I want to also talk about animal cruelty. I don't want to show you really horrific videos. I don't think that's necessary because it could be pretty depressing and heart-wrenching. But maybe if I can just talk to you and tell you a few things that might make you think differently about the things that you eat. Especially if you're a spiritual person, it's very important that we look after this planet and that we look after our sentient beings, people that share this planet with us. I also want to talk to you about shopping organically, and I can give you a list of the things that you should buy organic, because there are certain vegetables that are very heavily sprayed and all that sort of stuff, and we'll talk to you about that in the next video. So please leave your comments, give us a thumbs up if you like my video, and tell your mothers and your grandmothers that this old lady is on the high carb lifestyle and wants to help you to have lots of energy and fun in life. So love and light to all, blessings, and have a great week.